Hello, everyone. It's Monday, the beginning of the week. I have another encounter for you. It's going to be a sad encounter. I think, this goes to show what happens when you press your luck and you don't listen. Um, but y'all let me know what you think at the end. In this old town that I live in, there is a bridge, and the old legend was there are trolls under this bridge, and you did not fish it at night. And that's what caught my attention, guys. We have a bridge here called Troll Bridge also, so I kind of had a similarities with this. But nothing as bad happened at our bridge as what you're going to see happen in this. But one summer evening, Ben and I decided to try our luck at night. We arrived at the bridge, and we were told not to fish at night at this bridge, but you know how teenagers are. We was pushing our luck. So, just as the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water, we baited our hooks and cast our lines out, feeling a sense of excitement and, feeling kind of manly because nobody else wanted to be here in the dark. As the darkness deepened, we heard strange noises coming from beneath the bridge. At first, we just dismissed it. We said, it's just the usual creaks and groans of an old structure. But then the sounds grew louder and more menacing. It sounded like someone or something was moving around down there. We exchanged a nervous glance. Our hearts kind of sped up a little, but, there was a loud splash echoed through the night air, and we saw a pair of glowing eyes staring back at us from the shadows under the bridge. As quickly as we packed up our gear, and we began running, and we was out of there and ready to leave. The strange noises and laughter grew louder, echoing off the bridge's walls. It was an unsettling just noise, It really sent shivers down our spines, and we was ready to get out of there, and we were getting out of there. We didn't dare look back, fearful of what we might see. We hastened our pace, our footsteps clattering on the bridge's wooden planks. Once we reached the safety of our truck, we breathed a sigh of relief, sped away from the bridge, leaving the eerie sounds and laughter behind. We didn't speak much on the drive home. Our minds were pretty much just replaying the strange encounter. We both knew that while we had experienced something that, I don't know, would stay with us for a long time and we would never really care to talk about. We never saw the troll. We knew that we had heard its presence and that, we thought we had heard its presence, and it was enough to keep us away from the bridge at night. But Ben's fascination with the bridge at night only grew stronger, and he began to tease me about it, and he teased me about me being scared. I tried to reason with him, sharing my concerns about the strange noises and laughter we had heard. And I told him, the old-timers know what they're talking about. Maybe we shouldn't push our luck. But Ben just laughed it off. One evening, as we were packing up our gear after a day of fishing, Ben turned to me with a mischievous grin. "Tonight's the night," he said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We're going back to the bridge, and we're going to catch us a troll." I shook my head, feeling a sense of unease. "Ben, I'm telling you, it's not a good idea," I told him. But he just winked at me and said, "Come on, it'll be fun." Ben was always daring. And with that, he headed off toward the bridge, leaving me no choice but to follow him. "But Ben," I told him, "it is scary out there." And he just laughed at me, and he called me a chicken. As I walked away to my house, I did not want to do this. I knew he was trying to get me to go, but I stood firm. I had a bad feeling about this, and I wasn't going to ignore it. As I walked back to my house, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I knew I made the right decision, but as I looked back towards the bridge, I saw Ben's figure standing alone in the darkness. And I did feel a little bit worried for him. I tried to shake it off, telling myself he was a big boy and he could take care of himself, but the feeling only intensified as the night wore on, and I couldn't shake the sense that something was terribly wrong. And then, just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard a scream. Now, Mike, I don't know if it was a scream that I actually heard. I just thought maybe I dozed off and that it was just a dream. So I went back to sleep. But the next morning, whenever I woke up, my heart really did sink. I looked out the window and I seen a scene unfold before me. The police were talking to Ben's parents, and a group of volunteers were gathering in the yard of Ben's house. They were preparing to search for him. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me, knowing that I had left him at the bridge the night before. I quickly got dressed and I rushed over to Ben's house, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios as I approached Ben's mom's. She said to me, "Oh, thank God you're safe." Tears were streaming down her face. She exclaimed, grasping my arm, "Ben never came home last night, and we're so worried." I felt a lump in my throat. I got sick in our yard as I realized the gravity of the situation. Ben was missing, and I was the last person to see him. I knew I had to tell the police everything, no matter how strange it sounded. I needed to talk to the officers. I said, my voice shaking, "I was with Ben last night at the bridge." But I knew what we had seen and heard, and I knew that Ben was not just lost. I tried to convince the police to take me seriously. But Mike, they didn't. They just went to search the bridge and the surrounding area, but they just patted me on the back and told me to go home and wait for Ben to turn up. As the days went by, the search party combed the woods and the river, but there was no sign of Ben. His parents were frantic with worry, and I was consumed with guilt and fear. I knew that I had let Ben down, that I had abandoned him when he needed me the most. And then on the third day, the police came to my door with a somber look on their faces. "We found something," they said, their voices low and serious. "Come with us." My heart was racing. I followed them to the bridge, where they showed me a piece of the torn fabric caught on the railing. It was a piece of Ben's shirt. I recognized it. I told them, yes, that is what he was wearing, and then they took me back to my house and thanked me. My heart leaped with relief and joy, and I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. "Where is he?" I asked, eager to see my friend and to know that he was safe. But my mom's expression was somber, and she hesitated before speaking. "He's in the hospital, sweetie," is what she told me. "He was found under the bridge, and he's different." I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that something was terribly wrong. "What do you mean?" I pressed, my voice shaking. My mom's eyes filled with tears, and she pulled me into a hug. "He's not the same, honey. Whatever happened to him under that bridge, it changed him. He's not Ben anymore." I asked them what they meant, and they said they would discuss it more with me in the morning, that it was getting late. I went to my room to try to sleep. I felt a wave of horror and sadness wash over me as I listened to my parents' hushed tones through the bedroom wall as I eavesdropped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ben, my best friend, was gone. He had suffered a terrifying fate, trapped in barbed wire in the creek, struggling to keep his head above the water until the end. They said he was wrapped in the barbed wire, laying in water just deep enough that he would have to lift his head to keep it from the water. At one point, he must have tired out and could no longer keep his face above the water. Tears streamed down my face, Mike. I thought of the good times we'd shared, the laughter and the adventures. I couldn't imagine a world without Ben in it. I felt a deep regret for leaving him at the bridge that night, and for not being there to help him. As I lay in bed, my mind raced with questions and fears. What happened to Ben? Was it really just an accident, or was something more sinister at play? And what about the troll? Did it even exist, or was it just a figment of our imagination? The darkness seemed to be closing in around all of us, and I knew that I would never forget this night, this terrible, tragic night. Years went by, but the memory of Ben's tragic fate still bothered me, Mike. I carried the guilt and the fear with me always, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows. And though the bridge was gone, tore down and replaced with a new modern structure, I knew the trolls were still out there waiting for me, for their next victim. I avoided that part of town, avoiding the creek in the woods, avoiding the memories that haunted me still. But sometimes in the dead of night, I would hear the laughter, the same menacing, otherworldly laughter that we had heard that fateful night. And at the same time, I knew that the trolls were still there waiting for me, that they had forgot one. I never forgot Ben, and I never forgot a lesson I learned that night. Some legends are true, and some monsters are all too real. We need to listen to our elders. They name these bridges and these places these names for a reason. They've experienced something there also. I blame myself still to this day, and I wonder why was it not me. Some days I wish it was me, and it probably would have been easier to have lived without this guilt. Never push things, Mike. Sometimes we don't come home, and I will always blame myself for being. Thank you, family, for listening to my story. I love Abnormal Investigations. Yeah, that's really sad. We have a bridge around here. They have different names, and I've thought about exploring them and doing videos on them. Each individual bridge. But I also understand it doing that. There is risk to doing it. These bridges have these names for a reason, and I believe to every story, every folklore, every nursery rhyme, there's a little bit of truth, and I think we have to be careful. So I appreciate y'all listening, smashing that like button, guys, and until next time, keep your head on a swivel, don't be something's dinner, and we'll see you on the next one.